In the world of royalty, silence often says more than words. Behind palace walls, where every glance can become a headline, even quiet grief must wear a composed face. For Princess Beatrice, the eldest daughter of Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson, that silence has become a language of its own. Before we dive in, there's something I need to share with you. Over the past few days, thousands have watched these stories unfold, but most haven't subscribed. If you're one of them, I invite you now to join us. Subscribe to Crownverse so you never miss the next chapter in this unfolding royal history. The story begins with a daughter born into a world defined by titles, expectation, and image. From the moment of her birth in August 1988, Princess Beatrice of York was marked by history. She was the first child of the Duke and Duchess of York, a couple whose early years had captured the public's imagination and then its scandal. Her earliest photographs were not family keepsakes tucked away in albums, but glossy magazine spreads sold for six figures. According to reports from the late 1980s, her parents accepted a payment from a celebrity magazine for exclusive access to their family life, a decision that blurred the line between royal privacy and public commerce. Beatrice's childhood, though privileged, was shaped by this uneasy exposure. Even before she could walk, she had already appeared on covers, her bath time and birthday moments discussed in print. The late Queen's generation had prized dignity through distance, but for Beatrice's parents, Sarah Ferguson and Prince Andrew, the postmodern royal image was more entangled with media than ever before. They were, in a sense, the first royal couple to live entirely in the age of celebrity culture, and their daughter would inherit both the fascination and the fallout. When the Duke and Duchess of York divorced in 1996, the royal family was already enduring one of its most turbulent decades. Beatrice and her younger sister Eugenie were suddenly children of separation in a family that had long been expected to represent unity. Yet, by most accounts, their upbringing remained unusually close-knit. Andrew and Sarah continued to live together at Royal Lodge, even after their divorce, a domestic arrangement that defied convention but provided the sisters with stability. For years, Beatrice maintained a largely private life. Educated at St. George's and later Goldsmiths, University of London, she chose to carve a path outside the official royal fold. Unlike her cousins William and Harry, she was never expected to become a full-time working royal. She pursued a professional career, first in finance, later in technology and venture capital, while fulfilling occasional ceremonial duties. Her public persona was that of a quietly diligent woman, kind, modern, and uncontroversial. But in 2019, that quiet world collapsed under the weight of her father's scandal. The controversy surrounding Prince Andrew's friendship with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein had been simmering for years. When the BBC's Newsnight aired Andrew's now infamous interview in November 2019, it ignited one of the most damaging crises the modern monarchy had faced. The Duke's attempts to explain his relationship with Epstein and deny allegations of sexual misconduct were widely regarded as disastrous. The fallout was swift. Within days, Andrew stepped back from all public duties, and by early 2022, he had been stripped of his remaining royal patronages and military titles. For Beatrice, the impact was not political. It was deeply personal. According to several reports, friends close to the princess said she was devastated by the scandal and the public humiliation that followed. Some accounts described her as heartbroken and stuck in the middle, trying to reconcile love for her father with the reality of his actions and the anger they provoked. While these reports rely on unnamed sources and therefore remain unverified, they align with observable facts. She withdrew from public events, postponed personal milestones, and was seen visibly emotional at times when the media storm intensified. Her father's downfall overshadowed even her wedding. Originally scheduled for May 2020 with grandeur befitting a royal daughter, her marriage to Edoardo Mazzi was postponed amid both the pandemic and the ongoing controversy. When it finally took place, it was a private, low-key ceremony attended by only a handful of family members. The Queen and Prince Philip were there. Her father walked her down the aisle. But the event, stripped of spectacle, seemed symbolic, a quiet assertion of normality against a backdrop of turmoil. For the British monarchy, Andrew's scandal was not simply personal misjudgment. It was institutional vulnerability. Every royal carries, by birth, the collective reputation of the crown, and when one falters, the shadow falls across them all. Beatrice and Eugenie, though blameless, found themselves under a form of inherited suspicion, collateral victims of public anger towards their father. Unlike the senior royals, they had no formal platform from which to speak, no official role that could redefine their place. They became instead symbols of silent endurance. Public sympathy for the sisters grew as their father's reputation deteriorated. Commentators noted their efforts to maintain careers, raise families, and uphold charitable causes away from the palace spotlight. Both women work in the private sector and do not receive funding from the sovereign grant, which finances the monarch's official duties. Yet every achievement, every interview, is still framed against the backdrop of their father's name. Beatrice, by all accounts, has remained steadfastly loyal to her parents. She continues to visit Royal Lodge, where Andrew and Sarah Ferguson still reside, and to include them in her family life. Yet those visits now carry a different weight. Once a family home, Royal Lodge has become a symbol of royal excess, its lease, its cost, and maintenance under scrutiny. For Beatrice, that setting is both a childhood refuge and a reminder of the institution's contradictions. There are moments when the human story peeks through the protocol. Photographs from 2023 show Beatrice at a charity gala, her smile graceful but subdued. At another event, she appears protective of her younger sister, guiding her through a crowd of cameras. Friends have said, though again without named attribution, that she finds the renewed attention around her father exhausting, that each headline feels like reopening an old wound. What we can verify is this: she has chosen silence. Since 2019, Beatrice has not spoken publicly about her father's controversies, nor has she participated in any interview addressing them. Her absence of comment functions as both shield and statement. In the royal lexicon, silence can signify loyalty, but it can also mean quiet disapproval. The ambiguity protects her, but it also isolates her. Observers close to the family note that Beatrice's relationship with the late Queen remained particularly strong. The monarch was said to have been fond of her granddaughter's warmth and discretion. When Beatrice named her daughter Sienna Elizabeth in 2021, it was widely seen as a tribute to that bond. In many ways, she embodies the qualities the Queen prized: composure, service, and the ability to endure without spectacle. But the modern monarchy exists in an age where endurance alone no longer satisfies public curiosity. Every royal, however peripheral, becomes a prism through which the institution is judged. And for Beatrice, that judgment is often unfairly inherited. In private, according to friends cited by reputable outlets, she has expressed sadness that her father's actions have tainted the family name. She reportedly worries about the long-term impact on her daughter, how history might remember the Yorks. These sentiments, while second-hand, reflect an understandable truth. She is a daughter caught between two worlds, one of inherited loyalty and one of earned independence.
Her husband, Edoardo Mapelli Mozzi, a successful property developer, is said to be a grounding force in her life. Together, they maintain a low profile, dividing their time between London and the countryside. Unlike past royal couples, they have avoided brand partnerships, media deals, or commercial exploitation of their status. Their restraint contrasts sharply with the flamboyance that once defined the York family's public image. Sarah Ferguson, meanwhile, has continued to speak warmly of her daughters in interviews, calling them brave and bold, and praising their compassion. She has described them as giant oaks in the wind that don't break, a poetic image that captures both the strain and strength of their position. The Duchess's words, while maternal and affectionate, also serve as a subtle act of defense, a reminder that despite the storm around them, her daughters have remained unshaken. Still, the question lingers. How long can Beatrice remain untouched by a scandal that refuses to fade? Prince Andrew's attempts at rehabilitation have been slow and uncertain. His limited public appearances, occasional church visits, and attendance at family events continue to draw attention. Each time he reemerges, headlines follow, and with them, renewed scrutiny of everyone connected to him. For Beatrice, that means the cycle begins again. Quiet periods shattered by sudden waves of speculation. In the modern information age, reputation moves faster than redemption. The same digital currents that can elevate a cause can also preserve a scandal indefinitely. For the Yorks, the internet has become a permanent archive of embarrassment. Every headline, every photograph, every misstep preserved in searchable memory. Within this climate, Beatrice's approach seems almost old-fashioned. The dignity of silence, the insistence on normalcy. Yet silence can also be misread. In the absence of her voice, narratives multiply. Some portray her as the dutiful daughter, others as the unwilling witness. The truth, as ever with royalty, lies in the space between image and reality. Her public appearances continue at garden parties, charity galas, literary events, each carefully curated. The press coverage is polite, even sympathetic. She is praised for her fashion, her warmth, her balance between motherhood and work. But behind that praise, a quiet tension remains. The unspoken question of how much longer she can separate her personal reputation from her father's. History has seen this pattern before. Royal children bearing the consequences of their parents' fall from grace, from the Duke of Windsor's exile to Princess Margaret's heartbreak, from Diana's sons navigating public grief to the York sisters enduring public scrutiny. Each generation learns the same lesson. The crown may be heavy, but its shadow is heavier still. For Beatrice, that shadow takes the shape of love tested by scandal. She cannot renounce her father, nor can she absolve him. She can only redefine herself by what she does beyond him. And perhaps that, quietly, is what she has done. Her professional life continues. Her marriage appears stable. Her daughter grows up in relative peace. There are no memoirs, no documentaries, no tell-all interviews. Only small gestures of normal life, that, in the royal context, become acts of rebellion. Observers within royal circles note that King Charles maintains cordial relations with his niece and sister-in-law. There are no reports of estrangement, but there is also no sign of public reintegration for Andrew, whose presence remains a delicate issue for the monarchy's image. Beatrice's navigation of this internal divide, affection within the family, caution in public, is perhaps the most complex balancing act any royal of her generation has had to perform. The monarchy endures on symbols, and within that system, Beatrice has become an unintentional symbol herself, of quiet endurance in an age of exposure. The cameras linger less now, but the questions remain. Can a daughter separate her identity from her father's legacy? Can love exist without complicity? Can royalty survive scandal by simply outlasting it? As the narrative unfolds, her silence continues to speak. It is the silence of a woman who carries both privilege and burden, who stands between the grandeur of inheritance and the gravity of consequence. It is the silence of someone who has seen the institution at its most fragile and chosen, nonetheless, to remain loyal to family, to tradition, and perhaps to hope. The image of Princess Beatrice walking beside her husband at a London charity event, smiling, composed, eyes slightly lowered, captures the essence of that balance. To the casual observer, she is serene. To those who know the story, that serenity is the product of years spent mastering composure under pressure. The royal family's history is filled with figures who spoke too soon or too loudly. Beatrice may be remembered as one who chose not to speak at all, and in doing so, preserved her dignity. Yet dignity has its limits. Every scandal leaves residue, and every generation inherits what the last could not resolve. Whether she can ever fully step out of that shadow remains uncertain. What is certain is that she has managed, so far, to remain standing, a quiet witness to a storm that began long before her and will echo long after. And as the lights fade from another royal season, one can almost imagine her at home, reading to her daughter, the world outside whispering of legacies and mistakes. Perhaps she knows that history will be kinder to silence than to spectacle. Perhaps she believes, as her grandmother did, that endurance is its own form of grace. The cameras may turn away for now, but the question lingers. When the next scandal strikes, will the daughter's calm be enough to redeem the father's fall? Or will the weight of royal blood prove heavier than time itself? In Windsor's long memory, answers rarely arrive quickly. But in the stillness between duty and love, between loyalty and judgment, Princess Beatrice stands. A reminder that even within monarchy, there are stories too human to escape their shadows.